Dear men and women of culture, I love Isekai. My favorites are as follows: Mushoku Tensei, Konosuba, Overlord, the Saga of Tanya the Evil, and The Eminence in Shadow. You see that there is a very popular Isekai missing, that one being Tensura. The reason is quite simple. I dislike the fact she got a human form. If you have a gimmick, at least commit to it for an entire season. That time I got reincarnated as a succubus is also an isekai, but it has no reincarnation. Our main character, Sumire Sukuba, does not die, but rather gets the good old shield hero treatment, being summoned to another world by opening a book, and changing races to succubus in the process. This, however, does not suit our protagonist because she is a wallflower and an introvert. But, unlike most other isekai protagonists, she can return home by reaching succubus level 301 or by paying 1 million gold. It is up to you to decide how this story pans out. It is clear from the premise alone that we are dealing with a point collection type of game. We have had a few of those on the channel before, but unlike those, we are confronted with the fact that this game has no fail state, effectively causing you to just run around and looking for the next scene to trigger. This is no compelling gameplay, and the game knows it as well. It does not even try to hide the fact, which I appreciate somewhat. It has no mechanics to speak of, and it does not try to pretend like it does. It becomes more of an experience, somewhat akin to what remains of Edith Finch or Firewatch, but with a less interesting story to tell. You can trigger different endings on the same save file, and you can visit a gallery to look at all the scenes that you have seen or have yet to see. These are all nice things to have, but if the only real content that you have to offer are the scenes, we have to look at those. I want to say I like the art style, but I kind of don't like that we only see the women during these scenes. Which is certainly a sentence I would not have expected to say ever, so let me elaborate a bit on what I mean by that. We see in most cases only the girl, which is a bit weird because there is nothing else here. The front and back door are just open now, and shortly thereafter, there is just some white stuff left inside. Where did it come from? I couldn't see anything. It must have been magic. Hey, 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 post production and total here. And I fucked up big time. It turns out there are only a few scenes where you don't see the male partner, and you see them for the most part. The content that you get is fairly interesting, but it's not something that you could call tame by any stretch of the word, at least with normal sensibilities. Like most Eroge, it starts off with harassment and slowly builds up to actual SA. And it just gets worse from there. I, for one, really like it. If you can't offer me decent gameplay, at least offer me something that makes me want to continue. And morbid curiosity is a strong hook for me. Now that I think about it, the game not only reminds me of Nymphomania Paradox, it also somewhat looks like it, don't you guys think? I actually looked it up. It's a completely different developer, at least from what I could gather. But let's look at it this way. We can finally answer the commenter's question. The commenter being Gegeki Kita, who asked if there are any eroge like Nymphomania Paradox, with a resounding yes. I am not surprised that there are. but I'm surprised that we had to answer this question. Although there's really not much to talk about, I would usually talk about the sound design in these games. But really, what is there to talk about? By now you have heard me say it at least 5 times, and you will hear me say it many more, at least if you have subscribed. The voice acting is great, but it is basically just moaning and thus very hard to fuck up. Everything else are stock sounds and stock music from RPG Maker, which brings me to my biggest problem. This game has no personality. I will explain what I mean by that. The game has no unique sounds. The premise itself is very basic. It's an isekai, nothing wrong with tried and tested, but you have to compete with JK Haru as a sex worker in another world here, and that one is goated. I'm not saying you need a great sound design to be unique, although it helps to distinguish yourself. The theme could also help doing that. But then again, being turned into a succubus, while an instant hook for me because I'm just a sucker for these types of stories, is a really weak hook and overdone to death. The entire succubus theming has been done to death ever since Itadaki Seiki got popular, and that one took a few years until it reached popularity. This leaves us with the question: is the game worth your $10 on Steam or other stores? The answer is an obvious and decided no. Not because of the missing gameplay, not because of the weird CG style, and not because of the content. It is because it took me only 90 minutes to beat the entire scenario, and because the horse has a human fucking.
Cause there is no cock like horse cock. Send your asshole into shock. You need horse cock, of course cock.